First person is Freddie Batcher. Freddie is UKIP's regional chairman for UKIP's second largest region, London. He is a very experienced fighter for UKIP, a serial entrepreneur. Freddie has first-class university qualifications in physics, mathematics and accounting, and trained with what became Ernst & Young. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Freddie Batcher.
I've worked since I was 15. I am happy when working. In terms of UKIP, I have nothing to offer, but you've heard this one before, blood, tears, toil and sweat. We're right now on our uppers, and trying to pretend we're not is silly. We've got our reputation for telling the truth. We must continue telling it. How do we get here? Limited value, we got here. We need to get out of it. We need to be electorally relevant again. We need to get the fear of God into people like the Brexit Party, who will not respond to anything other than threats, electoral threats. We have to be the electoral threat. They could vanish, they could be here to stay, they could be fielding candidates in local elections. Allegedly, they're looking for it. They're clearly splitting the vote with us. We can't negotiate with them. That's very, very clear. It would be a mistake, at least for the foreseeable future, to even begin to do so. Because when you sup with the devil, the spoon needed in this case would be longer than would be of any way any of us could possibly imagine. They want to simply destroy us completely. For those who have followed what's been going on in UKIP for the last 2-3 years, you'd have found that there's been a pattern of curious events. One has led to the other, and they've all produced the net result which we experience today. Now, I heard, and congratulations to those of you who are councillors, but we want for the North East, big region, we want hundreds of councillors for UKIP. We want all of you to be councillors, and we want a lot more than that. We want parliamentary seats. This is a beautiful part of the country. This is a part of the country where it's easy to remember what we're fighting for. We're fighting for everything. There's no one else but us, friends. This is the thin purple line. We are it. If there isn't us, the Brexit Party can fold into the Tory Party just like that. There'd be no difference. There is no difference. They've got a few show ones over there. Hey, the guy's an expert at doing this. So there's a token communist here and a token whatever, and we're going to pretend there's democracy. But this is not a party. The leader is the same as the NEC, whatever you may think of the NEC. There's no NEC. It's just one man. The whole thing's a facade. It's a complete and utter personality cult around just one person. We are a democratic party instead. We're a party that believes in these values and we practice what we preach. We are superior. We've just got to tell this to the public, make the public understand that we are actually the ones, we were the custodians of British sovereignty and independence, and that little word which means more than all the others put together, at least to me, that little word being freedom. Freedom means no EU interference, but it means a lot more than that. It means the freedom to speak frankly, to make bad jokes even, to make good ones occasionally, that would help. All these freedoms are being eroded, taken away, stolen from us. Why? I'm probably too polite to say. It could just be incompetence, it could be a deeper socio-Marxist agenda, I don't know. There's probably a whole cluster, something, I'm not allowed to use that word, of reasons as to why we are where we are. We have to get out of it, and get out of it we shall. Vote for me. I know what to do to make UKIP relevant again. Thank you.
Okay. First question. Come on, somebody's going to ask Freddie something. Yes. The gentleman.
Teaching. I taught students in the class below and the 2 classes below, and I taught them the basics of physics and mathematics, which I went on to teach. I went on to study and teach at university. But I did that because I wanted to know. I'm guilty of studying accountancy as well. And I say this because most accountants, almost as bad as lawyers, goddamn parasites, no use at all. But I wanted to study accountancy because I wanted to run businesses. And on my dad's side of the family, no one did. I knew I wanted to run businesses. And the way to run businesses was to see them from the outside, see lots of different businesses, and therefore you trade with the top. And it's just big firm of chartered accountants. And you see lots of you see different clients every week. And they're all different. Corner shops are sadly all the same. Big businesses are pretty much all different. So that was my business training. I'd already been running my own business in parallel computer software, but I've continued. UKIP is just like another business. What we are selling is ideas. We're selling our vision. We're selling the fact that we know this country is worth protecting and that we do a lot to protect it. We almost do anything to protect it. Other people have mischaracterized us, lied about us, cheated, given us the most awful treatment on the mainstream media. It's not just me, I've certainly had it, but my fellow candidates here have had just the same. You can't just lie down and let them do it. I've had the BBC on to me thrice on the subject of Tommy Robinson. No, I'm a politician, so I'm developing your question. And on the subject of Tommy Robinson, they've tried everything with me, and they've come a cropper each time. Simply because I stuck to my guns. I didn't defend Tommy's criminal record and all that. All that's just a matter of fact. It's unfortunate. But that does not change the fact that his main angst, what really, really gets to him, should bloody well get to all of us as well. And that is that there's been systematic, organised gang rape of young women throughout the country on a scale of an industrial scale. And this is not just gang rape, it is sex slavery. That means there is no way out for virtually all of them psychologically. And all of the organs of government and the fourth estate, the journalists who are supposed to be keeping a watchful eye, all tell you to be quiet about it. Shameful things like this. I asked the BBC whether whether they were aware of it or not aware of it or didn't know about it. And they tried all three on different occasions and they came a cropper each time.
Okay, ready. Thank you. Okay, the glasses there.
Yeah, would you keep Tommy Robertson on in his advisory capacity if you were leader?
He's not in an advisory capacity to UKIP. That's the point. Let's talk about something here called the Overton window. When you talk to people, I encountered this in my first speeches in UKIP, but I immediately brought up the subject of immigration, because ignoring it is like ignoring the elephant in the room. I'd said the gorilla in the room, and then I'd be accused of racism or some crazy nonsense like that. I noticed that a large section of the audience were effectively doing this, yeah, they wouldn't listen to what I was saying. They just switched off as soon as they heard immigration. This was about 6 years ago. Now that shifted, we moved it. We used to move things for the Conservative Party. We allowed them. They took lots of the electoral credit for what we did. We did it first. Remember, without us, there wouldn't have been a referendum, let alone a victory in a referendum. And now an actual, apparent, possible delivery of a real Brexit in a few months' time. What we must never allow to do is for the media to dictate what we choose to say and think. We must be pushing at the edge of this I'm quite happy for Tommy to be pushing as well, and maybe pushing it a bit further. And we'll take advantage of that. I don't think he particularly wants to join UKIP, by the way. That's another matter. So stay on as an advisor. He's not an advisor to UKIP, so there's a fallacy in the question, but I know what you mean. Look, he's a man who's made mistakes, but what's actually going on there, I believe he's a good lad. He's certainly not a racist or anything. That's a preposterous lie, filth by the media. We have to use this sort of thing without being portrayed as a street fighting group. So,
my worry is that you don't speak the truth. You're frightened to face the truth. You just mentioned one of the biggest problems that's been going on for the 30 years, almost 40 years in Scotland. You have not mentioned who the problem is with. We have a threat. Are you going to stand up and speak about that threat? Because you've skirted around it.
What is the question?
I've understood the question. My answer will be answered to you. Let me tell you the statistics, because I've been publishing this within UKIP. You're obviously one of the lucky people who haven't had one of my hundreds of emails with that on the top of it. I have analysed this. I'll even give you a more interesting statistic in a few minutes. The majority of these awful sex slavery cases, the perpetrators, the scoundrels who are doing it, they are people who profess the Islamic faith, whether they are or not. The rest of us would assume they are Muslims, and they are of Pakistani origin, and the figures are at least 80% of the Muslims, and of the Muslims, at least 80% are of Pakistani origin. Is that specific enough for you, sir? I've been saying exactly that. Further, there's a petition on the government website right now, parliament.uk, which calls for this petition. It calls for people like me to be put into jail for even beginning to criticize Islam. Now, I happen to be an agnostic. I want to criticize all religions. But I would particularly want to criticize any religion that wants to kill me for criticizing it. Because that offends me. And it should well offend you as well. Because it's absolutely outrageous. Now, concluding part of this. That government petition, yeah, it's saying that we are not allowed to criticize any religion. Of course, it's very interesting to see who has signed that petition. When you click on it, there's a link which says, go to the map. You can see a map of the UK, and you can see where they voted for it. This voted for the petition to shut people like me up. And I'm not going to be shut up. You'll have to lock me up to shut me up. So, this is not what our ancestors died for. It's ridiculous. But that map, how many of you can guess what I'm going to say next? That map, the map of where people have signed it, is the same map as the map where these goddamn sex slavery cases have been brought up. Not the courts, not the Crown courts where they've been faced, the actual place where it's happened. So the Leeds case recently, those 28 toe rags, one was found not guilty and not included in that, the 28 of them were from Huddersfield. So Huddersfield is one of those areas, and Huddersfield is bright red on that map in the government website. That's where the people are signing. I hope this dawns on you. So, was that frank enough for you? Good. I'm tempted to go into that. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. That's right, you can.
The young gentleman there, next to the person who just made the question.
You say it's free speech, but you've just bowed to political correctness with your first introduction, with the way you were going for
We start quietly. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
I don't want that. I want someone else to speak the mind and to say the truth.
I thought I'd just done that, but I'm overwhelming majority of the room. Which bit of the last bit wasn't true?
Correctness in your speech. You said, oh no, I can't say that. That's political correctness.
I just said it, sir. No. I don't understand the question. You?
No, I'm afraid we'll move on to the next one. The gentleman to the side. Was it Stuart, was it? You, Stuart? Stuart?
You mentioned that UKIP's a democratic party. I come to the NEC, and when we elect them, we get a summary and a photograph of people from various parts of the country. After I joined the party, I suggested very strongly that each region should have an elected representative on the NEC. When are you going to make that happen?
If I was a leader of UKIP, sorry, I suppose that's wrong, isn't it? When I'm the leader of UKIP, that would happen. It's right, but it's just stupid the way it is. It is like a lottery. It's more like a jury selection than a selection of the wisest people. It depends on the shade of colour in the photograph or whatever, whether one's underexposed or not. No one has time to read. At one point there were 93, I believe, applicants for the, maybe 94 applicants for it, so it was a complete lottery for 6 vacancies. So you get pot luck, you just get a random selection of people. Jury selection isn't a bad thing, though, entirely. The NEC is democratically elected. You elect them. Choose wisely. Ask for, perhaps you can always contact the candidates you want. Ask them to provide you with a CV. These are candidates for the NEC or any other election.
No, what I actually said was each region.
Yes, I agree. I'm one of the backers of that.
Representative
yes.
of the NEC.
Yes, I would support that. Because it's simply fair, and then you can be voting for somebody who you know of locally, not on the basis of their face. Thank heavens, because otherwise I wouldn't get elected anywhere. I get elected in London. I've won 4 elections from the trot, because they know me there as regional chairman. It will be done. I went further. I said that the whole process there is suspect. It is democratic, but it produces a jury, not a team of relative experts.
Okay, thank you, Freddie. Next question, gentleman in front.
So, if you support sort of freedom of speech, etc., and you support what, say, Tommy Robinson says, if Tommy Robinson, not that he's put in to join UKIP, but if he did put in to join UKIP, would you support that?
In UKIP, we're a party of law and order. We are ruled by a constitution, which was written a long time ago. The constitution says members of proscribed parties cannot be allowed in. except under exceptional circumstances. When we look at there's only been one time ever that exceptional circumstance thing was triggered, and I believe it was somebody who had only a few days left to live, and he just wanted to join UKIP, and then he died. That is a very tragic case. That clearly doesn't apply here. If you want to change the Constitution, there's a method in it. You have to look up the Constitution in the UKIP rulebook. There's a method that you, the people, can do it. So if you feel the NEC selection process as well is unfair, and it would need constitutional change for that, the Constitution contains the means for you to do it. I'm not avoiding the question. The leader can't do it. The leader can press it.
I'm not asking what rules, I'm asking if you would support it.
I would support it if the membership supported it. Simple as that. It should require a change in the Constitution. I don't know how many times you have been on the media. You may have been more experienced than I am at this. But we have lots of things which they hit us with. We want to talk about things which we want to talk about, not be ambushed by talk about, for example, whatever Carl Benjamin said about the requirement to have enough beer in order to have a certain connection with Jess Phillips, a Labour MP. That is stuff which is freedom of speech. To me, it's pretty bad taste. They want to talk about stuff like this. Let Tommy Robinson in, and by God, they'll be talking about everything else. They'd say if you let in the head of the EDL, you've got to let in everyone else in the EDL, including some people who you and I would not want to lead to let into UKIP. Let the members decide this, and this is the membership as a whole, in an EGM, which is called to actually get through the change to the Constitution. I'm a Democrat.
Thank you, Freddie. Yeah, gentleman at the front.
Heard quite a bit from the floor here, Tommy Robinson and the grooming gangs and so forth. And yes, I think we're all well aware of the threats we face from not only that, but Islamic fundamentalism and so forth. But do you not think at this point in time that UKIP has deviated too far from its original course, which was to get us out of the EU?
Indeed it has. This is where a tightrope walk is needed now to get us back onto mainstream acceptability, because we are dismissed. In fact, had I not been reasonably agile, I'd probably be speaking to you with an even uglier nose than I have, because I had a door thrown at me quite recently in mid-Kent, literally thrown at me, and I ducked back to avoid it, because we are, again, an unacceptable party. We're a party who polled 1.18% in Peterborough. This should have been a party, a constituency where we did considerably better than that. We did badly in the local elections. Whatever statistics are put there, we did not do well nationally. Your region was one of the, I think, the best performing. The worst performing is, I'm not going to name them here, but we had a dose in London the year previously in 2017 where we lost all our councillors. There was nothing we could have done about it. No matter how hard they were going to be got out, because we were perceived as having gone down the wrong track. And this is unfortunate.
And are we still going down the wrong track? Or?
Not with me. This would be brought up. Look, the growing Islamification of the country is a matter of concern. But if we go at it like a bull at the gate, we just get not listened to. So the mistake was putting it front and centre. Instead, don't even use this word. We don't need to most of the time. We talk about one law for all. We don't need to talk about special laws for that sort of paedophiles. We talk about the same law for all sorts of paedophiles. Again, one law for all works well, and few people, including the vast majority of Muslims, would even think of objecting to it. It's so obviously fair. This bringing in of other laws, legal systems in, is absolutely abhorrent, and we mustn't allow it at all. And it is going on in the back streets, in premises which are not licensed to do so. And yes, this is not fully enforceable law, but if you're a woman living in a Muslim community, and if you don't adhere to it, your life's going to be hell, unless you want to cut all links. And that's pretty hard for most people. Remember, we are a caring party as well. We don't want these parallel systems. We have our own legal system, which is based on principles. Hard to sometimes remember that it is based on those principles, the way it is implemented now by many of our judges, common purpose infiltrated. But this system is a lot better than the alternatives. We have to focus on these issues and then be taken seriously again, and not to be taken as street-fighting thugs, which is how we are currently portrayed to many. We know we're not. Many people who know us well know we're not. But the vast majority of the public don't know it so clearly. We've got to correct that. That is right. It won't be corrected if we go banging on about Islam as the main thing all the time. It's a matter of balance, as in most things in life.
And have you got a plan for this?
Absolutely. I myself, for those of you who don't know this, while my mum is English, my late mother, my father is Parsi. Parsis were a race who originated from Persia. 1300 years ago, they assumed the new religion coming from the West to them would be like Christianity or Judaism, with which religions they coexisted happily and peacefully, in the case of Judaism, for 2,000 years, maybe 2,500. The case of Christianity for more than 500 years. Boy, were they wrong. They lost everything. This gives me, this is unfair, it gives me the ability to speak about this without being interrupted quite as often by the media, calling me, the usual far right now, whatever this nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. Far right or racist. It just means the lefties lost the argument, by the way. We do know that. There's no other meaning than that. They have nothing to say, so they throw epithets at us and use ad hominem. Well, in reality, we know we're not. We're talking the truth. Look, immigration is an important subject. We can rely on the Brexit Party not to touch it. It's our territory. And if too little immigration, you die first. If too much, you drown. And we're right now at the drown level. We're completely the drown level. It's got to stop now. It's got to stop now. We've got to find who the illegals are. We've got to deport them. A due process, of course, I'm not rounding up people on the street. Very swift processes to they go unless they're able to prove that they have the right to be here.
Okay, the second shortest straw was drawn by Richard Brain. He is the chairman of UKIP West London. He volunteered for referendum party in the 1990s and has only ever voted for them and for UKIP. Richard was a borough manager for Grassroots Out and Vote Leave during the referendum campaign. He ran a team of 90 volunteers and scored the second highest result in his area. He stood for UKIP in local, Westminster and EU parliamentary elections and has developed canvassing and DIY leafleting software to help UKIP fight elections more efficiently. He has a degree in physics and philosophy and he has run his own photography, design and software business for 25 years. He's married with 4 children. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Brain.
Good evening. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for coming to hear us. Richard has told you a little bit about me already. The first thing I want to talk to you about is Gerard. Gerard Batten saved this party a year ago. He's put 27 years of hard work into the party, and he is an exceptionally determined person with great integrity, great honesty. I admire him, and I think it's absolutely terrible that he isn't able to stand in this leadership election. A month ago I went on the television to say that one of the reasons why I was UKIP through and through and would never go to the Brexit Party is because we are a democratic party. We elect our chairman, we vote on everything, and we elect our leader. And here we are in a situation a month later where I have egg on my face because, in fact, the NEC took out a favourite in our leadership election. But as you may know, I have asked Gerard to be my deputy leader. And after a few days, he agreed to do it. And so if you vote for me, Gerard will have a place in the party appropriate to his status and his long history of service to the party. And he'll be on the end of the telephone so that I have someone wise and sensible and informed and a fantastic Brexit spokesman available to me to make sure that I do things right. I am a somewhere person, not an anywhere person. I live in the house that I was born in. My parents live around the corner. My father is 94 and he is a D-Day veteran. My mother was a health service GP, and my guess is that a lot of the people in this room are also somewhere people. You belong here. This is your culture, this is your history, your parents, your grandparents, you belong here. And that's why it is so difficult to see the way this country is changing, the way immigration is changing, our communities, our villages, our towns. We see pubs closing down, we see churches closing down, we see mosques being built, and we see society actually breaking down. We see crime increasing, we see balkanization, different groups of people who barely know each other and barely speak the same language. That has to stop. We need to get immigration under control, and UKIP's immigration policy will achieve that. And we're going to have more immigration policy and uphold our law and actually make sure that our law is implemented. We're going to make sure that we stop the balkanization of Britain.
Thank you, Richard. First question to Richard, please. Down at the back.
What's your views on construction of more nuclear power stations in the UK?
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah?
Yes. And I'd like to see British firms, and British engineers, and British industry back where it used to be, building power stations, building ships, being looked to by the whole world as the place where the Industrial Revolution took hold.
Ships I can agree with. I'm not quite so sure about nuclear power stations. When they go wrong, they go all pretty wrong. We're not a big landmass, are we?
Well, we're not a volcanic area. We don't have a lot of earthquakes in the UK. There have been a couple of bad nuclear accidents in Japan, for instance. But by and large, the nuclear industry in this country has actually been very safe. A lot more people have died from fossil fuels than nuclear. In fact, if you look at wind farms and look at the stats, you might be surprised to see how many people have been killed in the construction of wind farms. And nuclear actually is a remarkably clean, it's not the cheapest energy, but it is clean. We have done it before, and I think that we should increase our interest, increase our stake in nuclear. It's a very clean form of energy, and we should be doing it. A country as developed as ours should be doing it.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Being a friend of Patton's, will you not face the same persecution as what he has? How are we going to deal with it?
I'm not sure that Gerard has been persecuted. I think it's terrible that he's been stopped from standing, and I think that's an undemocratic decision. I do think that there possibly are people in the party who want to connect with the Brexit Party, who perhaps are still loyal to Nigel. I can't say exactly why it's happened. I think it's a great shame, but I will do business with the NEC. I will obviously do what's right, what the leader has to do to deal with the NEC, and I will hope that I'll be able to actually speak to the NEC and argue my point with them so that we'll actually have a degree of unity. I don't see myself having a conflict with the NEC. They are elected. I do agree with what was said earlier that we need to have a much better process of electing people to the NEC, and I think a regional arrangement is a good idea. But it has to be done carefully because some of our regions are very sparse of voters, or members, party members, and some are very, very busy. And so we need to make sure that those regional elections lead to a situation where people are fairly represented so that they have as much representation in votes on the NEC as the number of members that NEC member represents.
The gentleman at the back.
I've got a two-part question. What's your idea on fracking? Would you allow it in this country or not? As well as what would be your immigration policy?
Fracking, the point about fracking, if you look at the US has become energy independent. We're the UK Independence Party. We should aim to be energy independent.
So
we should aim to be energy independent, and that is one of the ways that we can be. And so I actually think it's important to, obviously you proceed with caution. That's quite right. But this can actually deliver a vast amount of energy that we didn't know we had, and this actually leads you to be independent from the oil producers of the world. And one of the problems that we've got at the moment is that the oil producers of the world in the UN and in relations with this country have too much influence. We were talking about the growth of Islam earlier. Don't forget that really a large amount of money is used to promote Islam outside the Middle East. And don't think that that can be disconnected from the value of oil.
So you're going to put basically our health and our safety for money, because that's what fracking is. Fracking slowly, it doesn't matter how safe we say it is, it's not safe. It poisons the soil, it poisons the water, and then it slowly starts poisoning us. It doesn't matter how we say it is, it causes sinkholes, everything.
Simply,
Question for one, not two
the candidates answer the question.
I think that's an open question. I think what you've said is an open question. I'm not going to disagree with you, but we know that fracking all over the world has produced a lot of energy and allowed countries to become energy independent. And I'm not sure that the risks that you're talking about are not overstated. We need to proceed with caution, but we should view it very seriously as a way for this country to regain energy independence.
And I believe you had a second part to your question, sir.
Yes.
Would you like to put that to him now?
It was just about the immigration policy and stuff like that. Is it going to be the same as under Gerard Batten, or are you going to put your own take on it?
I think our manifesto is fantastic, and there's very little in it that I disagree with, and it's not my job to disagree with it because I support UKIP. UKIP is a fantastic party. Look at all you people here today. You've worked hard over years to get elected, to win the referendum, to achieve our independence. So for that reason, I don't have an intention to wipe the slate clean with our manifesto. I think it's a great manifesto. When it comes to the immigration policy, I've been challenged on the parts of the immigration policy that talk about immigration from countries which are known to have problems with Islamic extremism. And I defended that policy very clearly. It is about the safety of British people. Our government, first and foremost, has a duty to keep us safe, to make sure that our borders are controlled and that we actually have security, whether it be through military or police or the legal system. But that's government's responsibility. And if the government lets large numbers of people into this country, for instance, people who've been to Syria to be trained with ISIS and so on, they're making a terrible, terrible mistake, and they're putting the lives of all of us here at risk, and I think that's totally unacceptable. So I absolutely stand by our policy on immigration, and in particular the clause in our manifesto that talks about immigration from areas that have terrorist problems.
Next question, black t-shirt.
In the pub when we have our branch meetings, some of the locals said, we like UKIP, we used to support them, but we're supporting Brexit Party now. I noticed in Telegraph today a full-page spread for the Brexit Party, they're touring in September. What do you think is going to happen to the Brexit Party after Brexit?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, I've speculated that it might well be either absorbed by the Tory party, which seems possible, bearing in mind a lot of the funders and a lot of the candidates, in fact. Equally, it may turn out to be a lifeboat for the Tory party if Johnson fails to deliver Brexit. So, but I think I heard a little bit of news yesterday that suggested that a Tory government might just deliver Brexit. Someone who was in my campaign group, I was in charge of him actually during the referendum itself, was a Tory councillor called Daniel Moylan. And he went out as a Tory councillor in my borough and knocked on doors and put out my leaflets and did what he participated in our campaign. He's properly dedicated to getting out of the EU. And he's made very many strong arguments for it. And Boris has just given him a job and promoted him to be a spokesman or a negotiator involved in his Brexit plan, his Brexit process. So all I can say is that I take as a sign that something's changed. because they're starting to promote people who really do believe in Brexit, who really do believe that we can be an independent, successful country. So there's a real possibility that we might see something like the Brexit that we all hoped for actually delivered this year. It's not impossible. If that happens, the Brexit Party will, well, and Nigel perhaps will go on another 3-year paid holiday and then start up a new party with a new name. And perhaps that name party will be named after a UKIP policy as well.
Sylvia.
Hello, Sylvia.
Let me put the glasses on, sorry. There's Pam over there, sorry.
Gerard always supports veterans. Would you do the same?
Absolutely.
Or would you do us both together?
Absolutely, I would.
Being ex-forces myself, as well as probably quite a few here.
Absolutely.
I do support the veterans, and I think it's shameful what they're doing. There's no homes for them, they're on the streets. And if it wasn't for the British Legion, I don't know what would happen to them. And I'm very angry.
I certainly support veterans, and as I said, my own father is a D-Day combatant. Gerard has been very good at attending veterans events, and if you elect me, I will also do that. I will point this out, that when Gerard attends those events and speaks, he doesn't wear a UKIP rosette or badge. He does it as a British person supporting our veterans, and I would certainly aim to do exactly the same thing. I think he's got to exactly.
Thank you. A very similar point. We had the UKIP Veterans Association trying to build up for the last couple of years, and now the chairman's jumped ship.
No, yes.
Do you see any way to reinvent the UKIP veterans or get them organised properly?
Well, I think at the moment, obviously, we've got a problem with people looking at the Brexit Party and thinking that right now the Brexit Party is an option because October 31st is going to come. They want to express that. And as we've discussed, in a year or 2 years or 5 years' time, it may well be that that party will, the name of that party will not be particularly relevant. What we have to do as UKIP is make sure that we continue to fight for our principles and never give in, that we never get pushed back by the press into apologising or saying that we don't actually support our own policies because we're scared of people calling us nasty names. Okay, we have to stand up to that. We have to say, you may call us far right, but we are actually far centre. We're moderate people. We discuss everything in politics. We are not Nazis at all. Many of us are not even socialists. And so for that reason, I think UKIP will survive and will exist in a year or 2 or 5 years' time. And I think many of those people who've gone to the Brexit Party to express their frustration with the last 3 years will actually come back to us, because time will move on. The river moves on. And the issues that are going to be most important in 2 years' time are not the same as today. We will make progress. And so I think that people will come back to UKIP. We have to stick with UKIP as the hardcore and make sure that we get better, we have better tools, we campaign better, we know our arguments better, we know our manifesto better, and that we're actually a leaner, more efficient fighting machine than we've ever been before, and then they will come back.
Okay, Alex, please. Currently, the Labour Party in the North is in meltdown. How would you take advantage of the situation as a leader?
This is a great question. It's an absolutely pressing question. Unfortunately, we have not attracted enough Labour voters over the last couple of years, and it has been a great opportunity. I think that Gerard took a strategic decision. I actually asked him why he campaigned for Tommy when Tommy was a political prisoner, wrongly imprisoned. And he said to me, because it was right. But there is another aspect to this, which is that in fact, strategically, there's no question that the party has started to appeal more to working class people. And that may be why we're called far right. For the press, far right basically means working class. So we have started to appeal to working class people more, and I think we need to do that even more. One of the areas where we need to make sure that working class people appreciate what UKIP has achieved is that Brexit is actually going to make life better for the least well-off in this country. It's going to make goods cheaper. It's going to make wages higher, more reasonable. And it's also going, excuse me, it's also going to ensure that there's less competition from abroad for jobs. So it's going to help the poorest, the least well-paid in our society, I think, more than anybody else, because the least well-off in our society are the ones who actually suffered most from this terrible experiment of totalitarianism in the EU that has damaged all of the economies of Europe, probably even Germany.
Glasses, did you have
that was my question as well. So.
Time for one more session. Gentleman, the next to you.
Hi, Richard. Being 24, I'm probably one of the youngest people here. I was wondering if you've got any ideas how you would attract younger people and try and, I suppose, break Labour's well-known stranglehold on the youth, within school, universities, things like that. Have you got any ideas?
Yeah, that's very difficult. But in fact, UKIP is, in a Salvation poll recently, was found to be the second most popular party amongst people in the 18 to 24 age range. So it is happening now. And one of the things that has helped, I think, is bringing in some of the YouTubers and youngsters coming into the party and getting involved. And after one of my interviews in the European election, I was with a chap called Eric, who I think Eric's 21. He's fantastically well informed. He's got bleached blonde hair and he always wears pink, and he's an alternative character, but he's fantastically well informed and he's great at engaging with people. And after that interview, we went to the pub and he took a picture of us and tweeted, "Boomer Millennial Alliance." And boomers are the baby boomers. That's me, born in the 60s. And the millennials, we all know, are the young people who everyone assumes, including the press, are extremely left-wing. But in fact, many of them, in order to rebel, have actually thought a lot harder about the politics that they're being spoon-fed by our media and have rejected it. And often have grown up in families where saying UKIP over the kitchen table will get you an unpleasant look anyway. But in fact, UKIP is rebellious. It's the punk party. We turned the world on its head. We're the rebels. We said what you shouldn't say, what you're not allowed to say, and we made it come true. And I remember Malcolm McLaren was asked about 15 years ago, the manager of the Sex Pistols, how can young people rebel today? And he said, don't buy anything. Well, I would say today that's changed. How can young people rebel today? Join UKIP.
So we come to speaker. Mike Lookham has been a stalwart of UKIP since joining the party in 2007. In that time he has held political posts at nearly every level, from branch chairman to regional chair, MEP to EFDD leader of UK delegation to the European Parliament. His career highlights include being the first British politician to spend significant time examining people trafficking in the Calais jungle, successfully campaigning for the introduction of Veterans Priority Card and changes to the Armed Forces Covenant, and helping to get a ban on electro-pulse fishing in British waters. Since 2018, he also served as UKIP's deputy leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike Lookham.
Thank you very much. I must have been a busy boy. As you say, I've done every senior position in the party, but I see now that we are at a junction in the road. And I say we either go down the way we have been going for the last 18 months, and we become basically a shouty, ranty party on the streets of Westminster, or we go in a different route where we become an electoral threat out there on the streets, winning council seats once again. You had a very successful time in the last council elections. Well done to everybody. But I want to see that replicated right across the country. We are not doing that. We have to win those seats again. We have to bring back the 4 million people that voted for us before. And the only way we can do that is to get the policies that people will vote for. Common sense policies. Many that you will see on the leaflet that I've given out today. Common sense policies that people will vote for. People will have trust in us and vote for us once again. Start at the ground level, because we are on the ground level, we're 1% in the polls. Start at the ground level, build on the council seats and build up to the Westminster. This is the only way you're going to do this. You either carry on what you're doing and be obliterated, or we go in a different direction and build on common sense policies and win again and be a party that's proud to go out on the streets, proud to wear a rosette and proud to say UKIP. That's where I want to go, that's where I want to see the party go. That's what I'm all about, and that's what I will do if I become leader of this party.
Okay, first question. David?
Mike, how do we go about reversing the obvious politicisation of the police? That's particularly relevant here in the North East today.
Well, again, it all comes down to getting into council, getting into politics, you know, and being in there so we can change things. We can't change things standing outside. We've got to get into the power seat, the council, Westminster, and that's how we do it. And you're going to hear me say this all night long. You're going to be bored sick of me saying it. It's all about politics. It's all about winning seats. It's about getting in there and making that change that we want. If we want to change things, we have to get into the councils and Westminster.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of apathy out there. Trying to involve people with politics and get them to read manifestos, it's hard work. I won't be shouted down, I won't be called racist because I know I'm not, but that's what the words that come at you, bigot, racist. How do we get the information out there? How do we make people listen? How would you get over apathy?
The apathy's there, I know it's there, and why not? Because we've been betrayed by the Tory party in the Brexit negotiations. 3 years to take us to where we are now, which is nowhere, where we was 3 years ago. So the apathy's there because 17.4 million people voted for Brexit and the government and Westminster totally ignored it. That's where the apathy comes from. And to change that, we have to be what we used to be, a party that was out there on the street talking to people and not standing back when they're shouting these things at us. I've had it shouted at me many, many times. Not standing back, being out there and talking to them, looking them in the eye and saying, this is where we are, these are our policies, this is what we want to do to make your life better, to make your ward better, and get out there and fight for what we believe in. And we have to do that, and hopefully we turn that round. And we was doing that at one point, because I've been in this for 10 years. And when I first started, there was a lot of apathy out there, and we turned it round, and we've become a party that people will look at and will vote for. Sadly, we've gone the wrong way.
Gentleman there in the middle. Yeah.
So can you be specific as to which direction?
Sorry, not you, sir. You've been next. Gentleman behind you, sorry.
Do you believe that you can do everything right in life and still it goes wrong? I think it goes something different, but that sort of belief.
You've been following me around, haven't you?
Stalker.
The only thing you can do in politics is do what you believe in and fight for what you believe in. And, you know, that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years in Parliament, and that's what I've been doing since 2007 within the party, fighting for what I believe in and making sure that we can change people's perception. And, yeah, you can do everything right and it still goes wrong, and that goes throughout life, and there's some things I've done and it's gone wrong, but you've just got to keep battling on and keep fighting on. And if you're not of that mindset in UKIP, you know, you've got to have a thick skin to be in this party, I'm telling you. So you just keep battling on.
Okay, put the front here.
Can you be specific when you say that you want to change direction back where we can be electable as to where we can be unelectable? So can you be specific in exactly what direction you want to take this?
What I want to do to the party, I want to change it. I want to change the structure of the party. I want to make sure that, as we spoke about today, I fought for, again, for 10 years for regional representation. We actually won that in I think it was 2014 Doncaster Conference. Anybody that was there, we had a debate on that, regional representation. And the membership won that vote. We won it. Steve Crowder, the party chairman at the time, totally ignored it. He didn't want it. Nigel didn't want it. He didn't want any regional representation, so it was quashed. We have to change that now. The party is at a time where they've got to restructure, they've got to get regional representation so that the membership have a voice that goes up to the headship and the headship comes back down to the membership so that people can converse and speak and they know what's going on and they know exactly what the party's thinking and the party itself knows what the membership's thinking. So the structures, we've got to get the structure right, we've got to get the policies right, we've got to get policies on NHS, on housing, on jobs. That's what the man and woman out there want to hear. They want to hear what's going to affect their back pocket. They want to hear what's going to happen to their local hospital. GPs, it's a huge queue to get to a GP. Why is that happening? That's happening because of mass immigration. That's got to stop. We've got to get these things back and we've got to get out on the street and speak about the policies that affect every man and woman in this country. That's how we change it round.
What your policy is on Islam and grooming gangs. I'm pretty sure that Freddie is crystal clear on everything else.
Well, everybody knows what mine is because I've made it crystal clear. I've written about it, I've spoke about it. To me, that is not the main issue. We did a poll in the party. We sent a poll up there and said, what is your main issue within the party? Islam was 10th. It was 10th. It came out from Tony McIntyre, who was the chair at the time. He put a poll up there and it came back, it was 10. I think there's many, many greater issues in this country than Islam. If we're talking about rape of young children, is that what we're on about? Rape of young children on an industrial scale. That happened in Rotherham, in my region. We've just lost 12 councillors in Rotherham today. They've just walked away and gone to the Brexit party. Those people, very quietly, doing their job as councillors, worked with the police and with Muslims and with the community as a whole and got a massive information on the rapists and everything else, and they brought prosecutions. They worked very quietly. The party has not done anything about it. They haven't applauded them. That was hard work by councillors. Those councillors have felt, well, we're being abandoned by the party and have disappeared. If we're talking about rape, and rape, the Muslim rape, well, the Catholics have been doing it for hundreds of years. They've been raping kids. This week, in my town of Hull, there was a lad just got 10 years for raping a young child. He got 10 years. The guy's scum. He should have got life. He should have been thrown away. This happens all over. It's illegal in this country. It's one law, that's all. Not Sharia law, one law. And if you are raping kids, it's illegal. So whatever religion you are, don't tell me I've read a book so it's right. I am interested. It's illegal. You go to prison and you go to prison for a very, very long time. I'm not interested.
Am I next up, Richardson?
Well, you can, I think Mike turned you.
So, the night of the Manchester bombings, I get a phone call from Dora. She tells me what's going on, because she's witnessed it all. A week later, I go to a demonstration, meet Tommy Robinson for the first time. A little while after that, I go to a demonstration in London. And then after that, I go to Birmingham. I meet Gerard Patton. I hear him speak, I meet Gerard Patton. Very clear about Islam. Not about Catholics, we know what goes on. We know what goes on. And it's all in there. We're important bad behaviour. Very bad behaviour by Islam. It's as simple as that. And you have to be strong and clear. Sorry, I didn't want to make a statement. I want you to be very clear about that.
I'm very clear.
After those 2 interviews that you've done recently, what I would like to know is, how are you going to build confidence with the members, given those 2 interviews that you did, And I really felt like you saw Jared down there.
I was ambushed. I was on those two interviews because our leader wouldn't go on it. He wouldn't do any mainstream media. We are going into a European election and he wouldn't do it. You, Vice Chair, rang me up and said, will you go do these two interviews? I said, yes, I'll go do it. I knew I was going to get Robinson, I knew I was going to get Benjamin.
We all do, every day.
Then I got these two things where they said, literally Islam, and I thought, I can't support this. I'm sorry, as an honest man, I can't support this. Now, I've done, over 5 years, I've done interviews with every TV company. I've been live right across America. I've done Europe, I've done Russia, I've done right across this country. I've done lunchtime politics. I've done everything. I've been wired up for 12 hours when the BBC Two was calling me a vigilante in Calais, trying to trip me up. I couldn't, in all honesty, support these two policies, and I just felt I'd been ambushed there. I'd been pushed into something that I couldn't do. There's nobody beat yourself up more on these two absolutely terrible interviews that I did. There's nobody beat yourself up. But I will not take this party down that road. We have to be a completely different route if we want to be an electoral success. And we will not win votes going down this road. We will not. And I will not stand there, and I'm sorry, I'm being totally honest with you, I will not support that. I will support a fight against rape of young children. I will support a stricter immigration into this country and making sure who comes in this country is coming in. And basically I want an Australian-style immigration system where those coming in are bringing skills into this country that we need. And I would stop all the rest, all of the millions that come into this country and put a wage compression on the working people of this country. I would stop all of that. I would build up on the border controls. I would put more technology into our border controls at the minute. It's all over in Calais. I would have boats going around the country. Basically, a boat that would be checking on fishing vessels, but also making sure that the vessels are not coming in bringing illegal immigrants in. I've seen it firsthand. I've been up there. I've watched them on the back of wagons. I've had guns pulled on me and the rest of it. So I've done stronger immigration. I would make sure that these people are not coming in. If anybody's coming in to do harm on this country, then they shouldn't be allowed in. I would be very strong on that. But as a libertarian party in our constitution that says that we will not, if you read it, and I've got it here, and if you want me to read this thing out, where we are at the moment, this party, right, in pursuit of these objectives, the party will all times adhere to the principles of full equality before the law. The party shall conduct itself and its affairs in such a way that it does not discriminate against or in favour of any person on the grounds of their race, religion, ethnic origin, education, belief, sexual orientation, class, social status, sectarianism or any other basis. I stand by that.
Really?
I stand by that. We are libertarian party. That is what I am joining. I believe this party can go forward with the right values, the values that people will vote for. I'm sorry, if you don't agree with that, I'm sorry. But that is my belief. I'm a politician. I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you to get your votes. That is my belief. That is what I do. I'm strong on that and I will not change my mind.
We've got children and that's not allowed.
Your children, it's illegal under British law. To rape a child is illegal and you go to prison for a long, long while. And I'm not interested in what religion you are. Whether you're Islam, Catholic, whatever religion. Don't tell me it's because of my religion. You're a paedophile. You go to prison, chuck away the key. Not interested.
Police aren't doing that.
Well, if the police are not doing it, and this is what they was doing in Rotherham, and this is what our council's got a grip of, the police and the council were not taking the suitable action. They, as politicians, started to make sure they were, and there have been many convictions in Rotherham, and they're still going through.
The Catholics don't get given
we'll go around with the people who put their hands up. Neil, next.
Yeah. So do you see any link at all between the culture, say, within Islam and the Blooming Gang? Do you see any link at all?
Sorry, I missed it.
Do you see any link at all between the culture of Islam and the Blooming Gang? Do you think there's a link between those two?
There is 5% of the population, and there was nearly 70 million people in this country, 5% are Muslim. Of that 5%, only 12% visit the mosque. That's fact. That's what happens. So, you know, I'm not a religious person. Don't tell me you're doing this because of whatever your religion is. I'm not religious. I can't give a monkey. It's illegal. You're raping a child.
It's about culture. You see a link between the culture.
Well, I don't think there is. I think you're a paedophile. I think you're a disgusting paedophile. So, you know, they're trying to link it to this. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to bend over on this. It's what I believe. Sorry?
They marry 12-year-olds. What is that then?
Not in this country, and if they're doing, then it's illegal.
Gentlemen, back to the last illegal, but it's still happening.
Then it should be clamped down on.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank you. Last year I was in York when you were there and you gave your speech. You marched with us as a veteran.
Yeah.
When the left sat there and called us racist scum and that.
Yeah, and that was directed at me, really.
Nice thing. I want to thank you for that because a lot of people get up to people like that tonight. What I want to know is, you're talking about common sense policies. What policies has UKIP got now that aren't common sense? Because I've read the manifesto. I'll agree with it. I could agree with 99.9% of that manifesto. When you're telling me we need common sense, what parts of the manifesto don't you agree with?
I agree with 99.9% of the manifesto. I wrote the fishing policy. I wrote the defence policy. And other policies I agree with, on immigration and everything else like that. What I'm saying is, we've got to put out there a manifesto, and my manifesto will go back to the 2015, which was a very successful policy document, but it will be updated, and that's what we will fight on. And it's got to be policies that you can fight on, that is simple for the people out there to read and understand. And those are the policies that we will fight on. Policies that you can get out there and say to the working man home, that is what we want, that is what we believe in, and they will say, yeah, I agree with that. We should be scooping up, as we spoke today, we should be scooping up that Labour vote. The Labour vote's pulling itself apart of our anti-Semitism. We should be scooping that up. We are not. We are nowhere near doing that. They're not even coming to us. They're not even talking to us. So we should be attacking that, and we should be going for that Labour vote. I believe our success will be in the north and will be in the Labour areas. But to do that, we have to be a common sense party that people will have support in and vote for us.
Okay, well, we're out of time. Which one? You?
Hill.
Yeah, go on. Last one. We're out of time.
A couple of things related. You say you're scooping up the Labour vote. My experience on the doors, around the streets, the last 18 months has been, we do that. Our strength is in the Labour areas. So there's not much we can change there. However, earlier in the speech you mentioned a statistic that we're at 1% in the polls. Which poll were you looking at?
Well, the majority of the polls, if we're any better, thankfully, you know, where are we then? Are we up at 15%, 16% where we was? Where are we? Well, yes, but you've been very successful. Why can't we replicate that right across the country?
Because you've got high immigration down the country, haven't you?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Sorry. It answered his question.
That's a very good question. Why can't we replicate?
Because the party's abandoned. We need to get back into the branches. We need to give support to the branches. In Yorkshire was the most popular, most successful region in the party. And we're struggling to get branches now. We're struggling to get membership. I was told by Gerard we have 30,000 members. And I'm saying to him, Gerard, I've got branches shutting down. Where are the people to canvass? Where are the people to leaflet? There's nobody coming out.
My concern is, one of my concerns is...
So it's the immigration that stopped us canvassing. And it's the immigration that stopped our branches opening up.
Sorry, we're out of time, but we need to give an equal amount of time to each candidate. So,
note here on Ben Walker. It says he's a former council, local authority vice chair and town mayor. Owns and operates his own construction business, operating in Bristol and South Gloucestershire where he lives. He served in the Royal Navy and Afghan War. That was my introduction. He sent to me this today, which I will read.
Who is this, sorry?
Ben Walker. Hello, my name is Ben Walker. I think we'll rephrase that. You know what I mean. I must first start with an apology for why I cannot be here in person today. However, my partner is currently pregnant and overdue, and I simply cannot be this far away from her at this crucial time. The timing of this leadership election is most unfortunate. However, I'm sure that all of you in the audience today can understand that the birth of my child is naturally something I cannot miss. UKIP is in crisis. This year we experienced our largest net loss of councillors in local elections and our worst European election results since 1994. The party has lost all major donors and, unsurprisingly, members are deserting UKIP in their thousands as we plummet below 1% in the polls. If we are to save our party, we must address these cold hard facts immediately. UKIP must have a positive and radical vision for post-Brexit Britain. We are the party for hard-working, patriotic men and women, the majority who work long hours, pay their taxes, and like us, oppose the politically correct agenda of our Westminster elite. In the EU referendum, the British people demonstrated their belief in this country. Since then, they have been browbeaten by the political and media establishment, peddled by the BBC. By staying true to our core values, UKIP can lead the way with a fresh and positive message. A crucial element of UKIP's past success has been you, the members. For little in return, grassroots members have donated their money and turned out to campaign. UKIP must go back to its grassroots by refocusing the party into a local campaigning machine, contesting and winning local council seats. I've been pushing this vision of UKIP since 2017, and I'm disappointed to have seen that nothing has changed in this regard. I will prioritise and properly fund UKIP's network of branches while drawing on the experience of members for future party policy. My leadership manifesto has already been written by branch officers. I've been elected at multiple levels of local government, parish, town, district council and mayor, alongside having been vice chair of my local authority. I know this can work. In areas of the country where UKIP has achieved unprecedented success, branches have been ignored and regrettably collapsed. Thurrock, Hartlepool, to name just a few. Under my leadership, I will focus my efforts reviving those long lost branches and raising essential funds in target areas, ensuring we do not squander future golden opportunities. I'm honoured to have served our country as a leading hand in the Royal Navy. I have served in the Afghanistan War and toured the Falklands. Members of the armed forces and the majority of the British public have one principal thing in common: they believe in Britain. If you elect me as the new leader, I'll show them that we are the party that believes in Britain and is ready to represent them. Ben Walker. What I would like to do is give the audience the opportunity to pose some questions for Ben, if you have any pressing ones. If you make them succinct so that the Tony can take them down, I will then forward them to Ben Walker and ask for his response to them, and I'll probably point this either directly to you or on the UKIP North East webpage. So are there any pressing questions that somebody would like to be put to Ben Walker? Could you just give your name for Tony?
I'll put one to him and he answered, so you can read that if you want.
Okay, why not? Come on. We like to be open.
As a, it's on the same policy that.
Chin up, sir.
Clean, isn't it? What was the question to?
Questions on the top. If you scroll.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, sorry. Can I ask your thoughts on Tommy Robinson? Hi, John. Sure, I believe in many of his arguments and that at times he has been vilified. It's UKIP's failure to be strong on some of these issues which has seen a rise in TR's popularity. We need to be making the case in a way that is digestible to the general public. We are a political party who exists to succeed at the ballot box. We have seen recently that our association with him hasn't really benefited the party. We must be trying to appeal to a wider audience. He also took votes from us by standing against us in the recent EU elections. I think the TR chapter has closed, but it is us that must regroup and continue to make the arguments in the right manner, ensure we follow the path of mainstream politics, not street politics. Thank you.
So does anybody, Hugh, what's your question?
What's your question for Ben? It's Hugh Jackson, Tony.
I think it is who I am. But my question is, would Mr. Walker be prepared to move at least some of his focus from the southwest to the northeast?
Any other questions? David?
Yes, I'd like to know what Ben's opinion would be on the reintroduction of national service, he being a former military man.
He's a very good scribe, isn't he? Look at him go. Any more before we go to the break? Yep, John Gedman.
What's Mr. Walker's opinion regarding zero-hour contracts?
Excuse me, I can't hear. What's his opinion on zero-hour contracts?
I would like to know all the...
Could you please raise your hand and speak to the chair? Please. I believe you are next. Ken.
I just want to say, can you ask him to do it on a video log, please?
Okay.
So we can show it and add it to this.
All right. Did you want to speak?
I was just wanting to know the rest of the opinion on zero-hour contracts.
Oh, well, it's too late now. You had the opportunity. You can ask it in the next session. You can ask it in the next session. That's the next session. Can't go back on time. Okay, no more questions? Great. Well, that concludes the first section, so we'll take a break now, a refreshment break, and we'll call you back in about 10 minutes or so for the group questions. Thank you very much.